Tomorrow we have Tzurim Rabbanon at 8 o'clock, followed by Daf Yomi at 9 o'clock. We're continuing with microwave ovens and stovetops and ovens and dishwashers and all of those issues regarding Isra V'Heter.
All right.
We're on Kuf Lamed, Daf Masechta Shabbos, Daf 130. New parak. Rabbi Yezer Demila. Rabbi Yezer Oimer. Im lo hevi kli me'erev Shabbos meviu b'Shabbos megula. That Rabbi Yezer holds that even preparatory steps for Mila, not just the Mila itself, Mila violates. We're not allowed to shecht on Shabbos, making a wound, and of course Mila is making a wound, so it's a Isser Deraisa. However, since it says Bayom Hashmini Yimol B'Sar Laso, so it's doche when Mila Bismana is doche Shabbos. That means the act of Mila itself. But let's say you didn't bring the knife to the place of the Mila. You have to carry it Rishus Harabim. It's not doche Shabbos. If anything you could have done Erev Shabbos, you have to do Erev Shabbos. You can't actually do the Mila Erev Shabbos because it's not Bismano. So the Mila itself can be done, but everything else has to be done Erev Shabbos. Even Midrabanan, we're going to see. And you bring it openly because it's Chavivas HaMitzvahs. You want to show that you're not hiding it. During the times when the Romans prohibited Mila, and you had to do it secretly, you could bring it hidden, as long as you do it in front of Eidim, who can testify that you did it, l'shem mitzvah. That on Shabbos, you're allowed to cut down trees to make coal, to heat up iron, to make steel, so that you'd have a knife to cut, to do the Mila on Shabbos. It means all these preparatory steps. He holds Machshirei Mila are also Docha Shabbos. Klolam Rabbi Akiva Kom Locha Shef Shalasos Merev Shabbos, ain't a Docha Shabbos. Any malacha that can be done Erev Shabbos is not Docha Shabbos. The Mila itself, Sheyev Shalasos Merev Shabbos, Docha Shabbos. So that you're allowed to do on Shabbos. Time Rabbi Yezer Mishum Chibu Bei Mitzvah. When Rabbi Yezer said that you should bring the knife open, is to show the love of the mitzvah, that you're willing to mechalo Shabbos over it, and we're allowed to. Or maybe you carry it open to show that you're not carrying other things. Like if you carry this knife in a concealed box, maybe you carry other things. So maybe we carry it open because maybe we're choshid in that you might be carrying other things. So l'may nafkamina la'asoi machus al pi edim. Carrying it out in front of edim, this whole edim business. If you're carrying it outwardly because you want to show the love of the mitzvah megula in the chusalo, then you carry it out open. And but we're worried that maybe he's going to carry other things. So if you're doing it before an Eidim, they're going to see what's going on. It's only Litzorach Mila. So what's the maskana regarding this? Itma Amar Rav Levi, Lo Amar Rav Eliezer L'Chabuvei Mitzvah. The reason Rav Eliezer is not worried about chashad. You carry it openly because you want to show the love of the mitzvah. Taina ma'achi, meviu megula, ve'meviu mechusa. You bring it open. The Rav Eliezer or Rav Ashi. Masnis nami deka diktanu shasa sakana. Only during Xeris Hashmad bechasel piyek. The sakana in is you covered. Shalom sakana lo shmamina mishum chibu b'mitzvah shmamina. Tani Yidich, you bring the knife open, not covered. That they would bring it covered, but they needed Adim to see what you were putting there. Adim, the comment, that which you said you need Adim, Iyu v'chad, is it he and somebody else, and he can testify on himself? Odilmahu utrei, he and two other people, who, because normally you can't serve as an aid. So Toshma v'sakanim chasal pi'edim, that in times of Gzer Shmad, you brought the knife covered. Iyamit bishmahu utrei, him and two other people, Shapir, that's Adim. Eliyamid uvachad my Adim. So Enechanami, the Gemara says, you could be even him and another person. Because those two could testify about something else. They're good Adim. V'adam Rabbi Yezer, Ton Rabbanon, b'mkomer shel Rabbi Yezer, you korsim eitzim lasos b'chavim lashos parsa b'shabbos. You could cut down trees, you could fire coals, you could do anything, even midaraisa, in preparation for the meal. In a similar way, in terms of heter, he held it was mutter to eat chicken and milk. There's no gzeir drabanan at all. Chachamim say that b'sar of, there's a three-way machlokas in Chulin. Hanakama holds that even fowl with milk is also midaraisa. Rabbi Kiva holds it's mutter deraisa, but it's a gzeir drabanan. And Rabbi Yosef Lili said it was completely permitted. So there is a Tana that holds you can eat chicken with milk. It's completely permitted. We paskin like Rabbi Akiva, that midaraisa it's permitted, but midrabanan they were goyzer. By the way, we do not paskin like Rabbi Yezer. Shulchan Aruch says machshira mila she'efshel lasos mibod yom. Any activity that in the preparation for mila that can be done Friday should be done Friday. En macham alam as Shabbos. Afil be'isur shemedivrei chachamim, even rabbinic isurim, you're not allowed to do. For example, let's say they didn't bring a knife for the mila, ein malin, you don't do the mila. Even though if you don't mal, it's the isur kores, you still, the chachamim said you cannot violate even a rabbinic prohibition, even though it's an isur kores. Shemiru chachamim divreim af mokum kores. Af amir lagoy lo hutra ela kishadavar atzmo asuli Yisrael rak b'divrei chachamim. You can't tell a goy to do something for you midaraisa. You could tell a goy to do something that's also to you rabbinically. Back to the Gemara. Levi ikla lebe Yosef Rishba. Levi visited the house of Yosef the hunter. He was an expert at hunting birds. Krivule Reisha de Tavta b'chalva. They brought him the head of a peacock in milk. Lo achal. Levi didn't eat. He also came to Rebbe when Levi ended up in front of Rebbe. He asked Levi, why didn't you put Yosef into cherem for violating we paskin that you're not allowed to eat sar of b'chala rabbinically? And if he's violating rabbinic isur, you should put him to cherem. Amar lei asred Rehuven b'seira havi. This was the neighborhood. The more the asr was Rehuven b'seira. B'amina dilma dorsh look Rabbi Yosef Lili. And I thought that Rehuven b'seira passed like Rabbi Yosef Lili that it's permitted. The snan. Rabbi Yosef Lili oimer nemar lo yisochlu kol nevela. Says you can't eat in a nevela, the corpse of a dead animal. The nemar lo savashel gediba chalevimo. And right next to it, it says, don't cook a goat with its mother's milk. By the way, it says it 3 times in the Torah, lo tavashel. One is for Isser Bishul. You're not allowed to cook basar b'chala. You're not allowed to eat basar b'chala that was cooked together. And the third, lo tavashel, is for Isser Anoah. But Rabbi Yosef Lili did a different drasha. One of the lo tavashels is right next to the lo tavashal gdi b'chalevimo, one of the lo sochlu kol nevela. So esha asur mishum nevela, asur levashal b'chalav, that which you cannot eat as nevela, you can't cook with chalab, you can't cook with milk. Now, the carcass of a dead bird is asur min nevela. So therefore, according to this rule, I would think it would be prohibited to cook chicken with milk. Talmud Lemer, b'chalev imo. A bird is not a mammal. A bird doesn't live on milk of its mother. So only animals.
Está corriendo. Eso sí.
What was that? Only animals that nurse from their mother is usher to cook with chalav. But birds that are not yoinek from their mother are not usher from basar b'chalav. That's how Rabbi basically learns that it's permitted to cook birds with milk because it's connected to chalev aim. On Rav Yitzchak, Irachas Isa Be'eretz Yisrael Shayu Oisim Krav Eliezer. There was a city that paskin like Rav Eliezer that they could violate Shabbos even for machshirei milah. V'hayu meisim bizmana. Nobody would die prematurely in that town because there's a connection to loving the mitzvah of milah and living a long life. The law owed elishpamachas gazra malchus asher gzer Yisrael milah. The Romans made a decree against milah. But Val Osayir Lo Gazer, this city that practiced like Rabbi Eliezer, there was no Gzeir of Milah there. So somehow it was protective of the city. Tanya Rosh Gamliel Oimer, Kol Mitzvah Shekibla Lem B'Simcha Kagon Milah, all mitzvahs that Klal Yisrael accepted in happiness, Ichsiv Sas Anochi Alim Rasech, Kemotzi Shalal Ra. This concept of Saso. And there that pasuk relates to milah. Amira Yechida Shekabel Ashar Amiras V'hi Milah. It was the first commandment given to Avraham Avinu. Yisrael Osim Mishlasim Aleh. Chol Shar Mitzvahs Einan Mochicha Kol Shar. Gon Tefillin Mezuzah V'tzitzis De'einan Kishahub. Also, we don't wear tefillin all the time and tzitzis all the time. And we don't have mezuzah with this, but when we're in the field and we're naked in the bathhouse, we always have our milah with us. And the Gemara in Menachos talks about David HaMelech, who saw himself in the bathhouse, and he said, "I'm naked of all mitzvahs." When he looked at his milah, he said, "No, I have this mitzvah with me." So any mitzvah that the Klal Yisrael accepted b'simcha, daino isnasa b'simcha. It has always had a schus that people make a big simcha by milah. However, kol mitzvah shekibla lebiktota, mitzvahs that were accepted with fighting, kigon arayos, the prohibition of not being able to live with certain relations. Dichsi vayishma Moshe sa'am bochel mishpachosah. What did he hear? Al iske mishpachosah. They were upset about all the dinim that they were told, you can't marry this relative, you can't marry that relative. So adayin also biktata the leg ksuba le'rame batigra. There's no ksuba and tnayim and preparation for a wedding that there isn't financial fights between the families. He gives this, you give that. So since the mitzvah then was accepted with fighting, it remains with fighting. Tanya Rosh ben Lazar Oimer, Kol mitzvah shemasu Yisrael atzman aleim lemisa, b'shas gzeres hamalchus. Mitzvahs that Klal Yisrael were willing to give up their lives for when there were decrees against them, like idolatry and milah. So those mitzvahs are still, Klal Yisrael still clings to them. Any mitzvah that people did not give their lives for when there were decrees against it, And what's an example? Could go to tefillin. Adayni marufa biyodam. We not everybody wears tefillin. There's still, it's not a mitzvah that's accepted by everybody. Dom Rav Yanai tefillin srichin guf naki. Kelisha bal knafayim. Rav Yanai said that in order to put on tefillin, you have to have a clean body. Like Elisha bal knafayim. Now, what does that mean, a clean body? Mahi. You cannot pass wind when you're wearing tefillin. Rava Omar, shelo yishan b'hem. You shouldn't sleep with tefillin. Again, if you sleep, you might pass wind during sleep. And there was only one person who kept tefillin on a high madrega. That was Elisha bal knafayim. But my karole Elisha bal knafayim. Why do they call him this? Elisha, the man of wings. Shepamachas gazra malchus rashak ze'al Yisrael. Romans passed a decree that they could not wear tefillin. If they find anybody wearing tefillin, they're going to smash in his brains. Elisha was wearing tefillin. He didn't care about the decree. He went out in the market with the tefillin on. The Ra'u Kazder Echad, a certain Roman officer saw him. Fun of Ratzachla. So Elisha bal knafayim took off with the Roman officer in pursuit. Kivan she gets slow, the Roman officer caught up to him. So Elisha took off the tefillin natlan mirosha, also biyado, hid them in his hands. Amarle my biyadcha. So the Roman officer said, "What's in your hands?" Amarlo kanfe yona, the wings of a dove. So Poshat Tziyada, he opened up his hands. V'nimtzu b'kanfe yona. And magically, instead of the tefillin there were wings of a dove. That's why he was called Elisha bal knafayim. Why did he immediately say wings of a dove and not other wings or from other birds? Mishum dedami k'nez Yisrael Yona. Klal Yisrael is like a dove. Shenamar kanfe Yona nechpa b'kesef. Wings of a dove are covered with silver. Ve'evroseh birakrak charutz. So pasuk in Tehillim. Ma Yona zu knafei meginos alea.
But Ernie, we learned this Gemara before when he was running away. They asked him for the tefillin. Didn't we learn this Gemara before?
I think it's mentioned in a number of places in Shas.
Yeah, but we learned it in Gemara Shabbos before.
I don't think it was Masechta Shabbos. No,
It was before. It was brachas. Okay, it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's in Brachas Nun. The Mesoras Hashsas says, and it's also earlier in Shabbos. Mem Tes. You're right, Walter.
Yeah,
it's mentioned earlier as well in Shabbos. Shabbos Mem Tes and Brachas Nun Gimel, I think.
mm-hmm.
So Knafei Meginos Aleh, the wings protect the dove. Af Yisrael mitzvos Meginos Aleh, our mitzvos protect Klal Yisrael. Amar Rav Barada, Amar Rav Yitzchak, Pamachas Shachachu v'Leviu Islam Erev Shabbos. They forgot to bring the knife for the Milah, Erev Shabbos. Ve'viu b'Shabbos, they brought it on Shabbos, Derech Gagois v'Derech Chatzeros. So we need some introduction here. So if you live in an apartment house with multiple Rishus HaYachids in it, and then let's say there's an outdoor courtyard, which is a chutzner that all the Rishus HaYachids empty into, so midaraisa, you can travel, you can go from a Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid. But once there were multiple Rishus HaYachids owned by multiple different people, Chazal made a gzeira that unless you do an Erev Chatzeros, unless each person contributes a certain amount of money and they buy a loaf of bread and they put it in one of the houses, it's as if that house is the one house for everybody, and then you can carry from the Rishus HaYachid into other Rishus HaYachids or into the Chatzar. Now, the roof and Chatzeros, we'll see these Gzeros of making an Eruv were made when you went from a Rishus HaYachid like a house. Now, even though a Chatzar and a roof is a Rishus HaYachid, there were some leniencies about Gagois and Chatzeros, as we'll see. So they brought this knife through roofs and Chatzers. However, Shelo b'Ritzon Rabbi Eliezer. Now, these roofs and Chatzers, they did have an Eruv, but they did not have an Eruv. And there's an Isser D'Rabbanan. And Rabbi Eliezer, this went against Rabbi Eliezer. Remember, Rabbi Eliezer said you could carry even Rishus HaRabim. You don't have to go derech Chatzeros and Gagois. And Maski for Rabbi Eliezer, Shelo b'Ritzon Rabbi Eliezer, Adirab, Rabbi Eliezer with a shari. I mean, what do you mean Rabbi Eliezer didn't? Rabbi Eliezer permits even Rishus HaRabim. Certainly he would permit this. Now, v'chite b'Shelo b'Ritzon Rabbi Eliezer. This shari afilu b'Rishus HaRabim. That maybe it doesn't, meaning it was not B'Ritzon Rabbi Eliezer, because Rabbi Eliezer would permit even Rishus HaRabim, and they didn't go through Rishus HaRabim. And Ela B'Ritzon Rabbanon, the Asur Derech Rishus HaRabim, V'sharu Derech Gagois Derech Chatzeros v'Karpethios. So maybe they did it in Ritzon Chachamim because they permitted going through roofs and Chatzers and Karpethios. More says Mishari. According to Rambam, they are also not permitted unless you make an Eruv. Atanya. Because unless you make an Eruv between the Gag and the Chatzar and the Karpeth, you can't go from one to the other. The Karpeth is like a field that's 5,000 square amas. You can carry in there, but if it's bigger than that and not connected to a house, then you would not be able to go from a Karpeth to let's say to a Gag or to a Chatzar, even though they're both Rishus HaYachids. So what do we mean Shelo b'Ritzon? Who is it not b'Ritzon? Elam Rav Ashi, Shelo b'Ritzon Rabbi Eliezer Malchukusa. It means Rabbi Eliezer wasn't happy with that din because he permits carrying it even mamish in Rishus HaRabim. And Malchukusa, the Chachamim who argued with Rabbi Eliezer, they weren't happy either because they also require an Eruv in those areas. So who was it in Ritzon of? Ritzon Rabbi Shimon. Did not Rabbi Shimon Omer Echad Gados, Echad Karpefos, Echad Chatzeros. According to Rabbi Shimon, if you started with an item in a roof, you could carry that to a chatzar, to a karpet, but not into a bayis. According to Rabbi Shimon, you don't need to make an area between those areas, right? If something starts in a bayis, you can't go to a chatzar, gag, or karpet. But let's say there was a knife in a roof, and the mila was going to be in the chutzner, they could take it from the gag to the karpet to the chutzner, and that's how they got the meat. That's how they got the mila knife, according to the sheet of Reb Shimon. Now, boy, Reb Zaim Reb Asi, mavui shelo nishtadfu bo. So a mavui is like an alley which is bounded by 3 walls, which opens into a Rishus HaRabim. On each side of the alley, there are houses that open up into chutzers, and the chutzers open up into the mavui. That's the sort of the classic view that we're always talking about. 3 houses opening up into a central chutzner. Each chutzner, and there's 3 of them on either side of each side of the wall of the mavui. Each chutzner opens up into the mavui. And the mavui, the one opening that doesn't have a wall, opens up to Rishus HaRabim. Now the din is that all these chatzeros have to make shituf mavuos in order for you to be able to carry from a chatzer into the mavui. Because again, even though technically midaraisa, the mavui is Rishus HaYachid. Since it opens up Rishus HaRabim, you have to fix it somehow to allow you to carry from a chatzar into that mavui. So all of the various chatzeros had to contribute and make a shituf. And then we'll see they had to do something at the opening of the mavui, put either a lechi or a korah to be able to carry within the mavui. So the Gemara asks, mavui shalom nishtatfu ba. So the various chatzeros that opened up into the mavui did not make a shituf. And let's say the mila knife is on one end of the alley and you want to carry it to another end of the alley, but stay in the alley. Ma'u l'taltel b'kula. Can you carry things b'tocho? Like Rashi says, or can you carry it? The sholosh machloikas hein be'eruvin, the perikol gagos. The divrei Rab Meir, gagin rishus la'atzman u'metatzel mizel lezeh. Roofs are their own rishus. You can go from a roof to a roof. Vafilu shel ba'alei marbe. Even if the roofs cover multiple different houses owned by different people. Many chatzeros, they're all chatzers, they're all rishus to themselves. And you can go from a chatzer to a chatzer without a neighbor, as long as the kelim started their Erev Shabbos. But you can't go migad lechatzer, and you can't go from karfef and karfethios rishus la'atzmam. I'm reading Rashi. Gagin v'chatzer rishus achad. Gagin chatzer one rishus. You can go from a gag to a chatzer. And karfifios rishus achas. Uledivrei Rab Shimon kulan rishus achas. They're all the same. Chutz min abatim. That's why we said before, according to Rab Shimon, you can go from everywhere except into a house. So the Gemara says like this: chatzer dami. Do we treat the mavui as a chatzer? Ma chatzer afagavdula irvu. Even though maybe the various chatzeros did not make an erev together, mutar l'tata, but you can carry in the chatzer itself. Hai nami afagavdula nishtatfu. Since the three chatzeros that opened up into the mavui didn't make a shituf mavuas together, but still anything that started off in the alley mutar l'tata b'kulo, you could carry it in the mavui. O dilma. Lo domi l'chatzer. Maybe a mavui is not comparable to a chatzer. The chatzer is slei arba mechitzos. A chatzer has 4 walls. Halas slei arba mechitzos. A mavui only has 3 walls. Or inami chatzer is slei diurim. There are various batim houses that open up into the chatzer. So there's people who live there. But a mavui, nobody lives off the mavui. Halas be diurim. So that was the question that was asked of him. If a mavui that didn't have shituf, could you carry the knife within the mavui? Shosak v'lam lev lamid, he didn't have an answer. However, other times he was sitting and saying that Amr Shem ben Lakish Mishum Avidan Nasi. There was a milah that they didn't bring the knife from Erev Shabbos. They viewed Shabbos, brought it on Shabbos. Chachamim were upset. How can we paskin like a das yachid Rabbi Yezer, who allows you to carry even Rishus HaRabim and leave the divrei chachamim, and not do like divrei chachamim, who ask you to do things on Shabbos that you could have done Erev Shabbos? Number one, chadid Rabbi Yezer shamutihu. Number one, they put Rabbi Yezer into chera, the famous Toner Achnoi. There was an oven. There was a debate whether it's Tomei and Tor. Rabbi Yezer had one opinion, Chachamim had a different opinion, and the walls started collapsing because Rabbi Yezer told the walls to collapse. And Rabbi Yoshua said, "Lo b'shamayim hi." We don't. The Baskol came out and said, "Allah Rabbi Yezer," and Rabbi Yoshua said, "We don't paskin like a Baskol because lo b'shamayim." Eventually, they put Rabbi Yezer into chera. Rashi gives another shot that he was like a shamaynik. So number one, how do we leave the chacham pasla Rabbi Yezer? He's a shamuti. Another problem, Yachid v'ram alacha karabi. When you have a debate between multitudes and one person, we pass like Rabbi. The Omer Rabbi Shai Shelis is Rabbi Yehuda Goizer. Rabbi Yehuda Goizer was a famous moya. I asked Rabbi Yehuda Goizer Armali Mavi Shalon Ishtat V'Buhava. This case where they brought the knife was a mavui that did not have shituf mavuos, and they brought it. They brought it from one end of the mavui to the other. So what are you telling us? That's our. Is that our? So do you have an answer to our question? That if the various chatzeros that open up into the mavui did not make a shituf mavuos with each other, and doesn't make a difference, you could carry within the mavui. Is that what you're telling me? He said yes. There was a time we asked you this question. You didn't say that it was permitted. Is it because of this fact that we're reviewing this that it's coming back to you? It's coming back to me. Shulchan Aruch says, "Mavui she'enim foolish, v'lo ivru bo chatzeros yachat," and all the chatzeros that empty into the mavui did not make a shituf. Mutar l'tatel b'kulo kelim sheshav subo. If something started off in the mavui, you could carry in the mavui. V'zeh kishi irvu chatzeros imabatim, and if the chatzeros made an erev with the various houses, they didn't make it together. We're going to see Machlokas Rav and Rav Yochanan as we get further into this sugya. Rav says that if you have a kli that starts off in the mavui and there was no shituf between the chatzeros emptying into it, you cannot carry in the full length of the mavui. This statement of Rav Zera, he said it, but he didn't explain. Adas Rav Arvua Pirsha. Until Rav Arvua came and explained. Rav Nachman Rav Arvua bar Amara. Mavui shlo nishtat fubo. So mavui, that there was no shituf between the three chatzeros that emptied into it. So it depends. Irvu chatzeros in batim. Let's say there's three houses that open up into every chatzer. Now, if those three houses, all three of them put $1 together and they bought a loaf, and they put it into one of the houses, so there's an erev chatzeros. And let's say all of the three chatzers with batim emptying into them, that were emptying into the mavui, had made an erev chatzeros, ein metatl bo elabar mavus. You would not be able to carry in the mavui. Lo irvu chatzeros in batim. Now, if these chatzeros did not make an erev with their batim, mutar l'tatel b'kul. And the Gemara doesn't understand what do you mean. Amalei Rechanina Yizol Charaba. Ma'ishna ki irvu chatzeros in batim. What's the difference? That if the chatzeros made an erev with the batim, what? The nitku chatzeros v'natzu batim. In a sense, the chatzeros now are viewed as if they were cut off from the mavui, because now they're basically connected only to the houses. And remember, the mavui is in continuity with the chatzeros, not with the batim. So maybe we view the chatzeros as if they're cut off from the mavuis. And the Rav Tamei Domer Rav Eina Mavi Nitr Belech V'Koyrei Ad Shiu Batim Chatzeros Psuchim L'Sochim. Remember, we said that you need to hang either a cross beam on the opening of the mavui to the Rishus HaRabim or a side beam called a lechi. He says a mavui doesn't get corrected by that unless you have batim v'chatzeros opening into the mavui. Now, if you've made an erev chatzeros between the batim and the chatzers that open up into the mavui, so we view the chatzers now as part of the houses, and therefore they're not really opening up halachically into the mavui. And therefore, it's like the chatzeros become all houses. We have no chatzers here. So we have no chatzers here. You can't have a mavui without chatzers emptying into it. And perhaps that's why Rob says you can't carry in the mavui if there's been eruv chatzeros between the houses and the chatzeros. And we'll continue this sugya tomorrow.